New setup, new studio. We're gonna talk about it and tell you how you can get a similar look for less than $120. Let's check this out. A lot of new things going on today. This is the first time that I'm filming in this new area here. It's taken a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of planning in order to kind of get this look. And over time, it's gonna take more tweaking until I actually get it to something that I really like. However, this is gonna be a great opportunity for me to talk about how if you kind of like this more cinematic, kind of more dramatic look, as far as the talking head portion of videos goes, then this is gonna be a good explanation of how you can do it on a pretty good budget without cutting much corners. Basically, everything you're seeing here took about a week of me preparing and setting up, but I'm hoping that by me making this video, I can kind of give you some pointers, some tips and tricks, things that you need to know ahead of time, as well as some of the main gear that you're gonna likely need to purchase if you don't have it already. For me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this as well, I need a spot dedicated to filming in order to film. It's one thing to have an idea to want to film something, and then to be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and film it here. If it's not properly set up in advance for me to film that, and I need to take a half a day or longer to film, then chances are that film idea is not gonna get made. These talking head portions, the reason I haven't really ever done these on the channel very much before is because I didn't like just filming in a random location and having it look half quality. I don't think that complements my videos very well. Let's say I can achieve this look anywhere in my house, but it takes me so long to set it up. For me, I'm less incentivized. It could be considered the lazy factor, but at the same time, I don't have the time to do that really. This isn't something that can really happen overnight, even though at first I thought it would be. Getting all the equipment is gonna be super simple and straightforward. I'm gonna guide you on that. It's just a little planning is needed ahead of time, and then once you put it all together, it'll be 1-2 and you're good to go. Of course, not everyone's gonna have the same exact room setting, layout, and things like that. However, these pointers are gonna give you a good direction as to what you should be considering when choosing the location that you need to be setting your new studio in, as well as placement for your lighting and other gear. Likewise, there's no one perfect way to shoot. There's not one best look. However, if you want something like this and you kind of want to follow along, this is going to be a great video for you. One thing this video is going to be assuming is that you do have camera and audio gear already. I'll make a future video talking about how I get my audio and video set up. Your main lights, I have two basically right now that are lighting me and getting this kind of look. Those are gonna be very important. We'll get into that later, but before even talking about the gear itself, we're first gonna talk about the space itself and the planning involved with getting this space. So if you'll see right now that we have the main camera over here, forget about this one over here. This is my XH1. I haven't talked about this guy over here, but I will make a future video about that, telling you how I picked this one out and how I actually got it for super cheap. And you probably like the look of this a lot better than this one right now, even though that this is almost a tenth of the cost, if you believe it. We have some really nice bokeh going on. There's a lot of depth of field. You can find this look in a lot of YouTube videos, as well as other high quality interviews and things like that, where you want to have your subject separated from its background and you want to have some nice depth of field. While we're not specifically talking about camera gear itself, one thing you do want to consider is you do want a camera that is able to create depth of field when it's focused on your face. This look is achieved in two parts. We're physically creating space between myself, the camera, as well as the background there, with myself being closer to the lens. I have my camera over there that's only about maybe 3 feet away from my face. And behind me, my desk is about maybe another 4 feet away. So I'm kind of in the middle between the two. I am using a faster lens, it's f2. If I really wanted to take this to the next level, one thing I would do would either be get like an f1.4. However, if I had actually more room available, and this is kind of the important part as far as what I'm telling you about your physical space here. If I was able to actually put this camera further back, and if I was to continue to be able to create this 3.5 foot distance between myself and the camera, but move the camera and myself about another 5 feet in that direction there, we would be able to create more of the bokeh background there and get it even creamier if that's a look you're going for. That was one of the main concerns when I was trying to film in my bedroom. I wasn't able to create proper spacing between myself, the camera, or myself and the background behind me. So with that framing there, right, it's very beneficial to have either a camera with a flip out screen or to have a field monitor, something that you can actually monitor yourself and see what you're filming. You need to be in the chair where you're gonna be sitting to see what you look like and what the background behind you is gonna look like as well. For me, this was the trickiest part. Getting all the gear, like I said, is just super easy, and even kind of getting in its spot is super easy. Like, I had this whole background behind me created within a few hours. but the actual idea of framing. Where am I gonna sit? Where am I gonna put my monitor behind me? How do I want the lights to bounce off the wall? Where do I put my decorations behind me as well? And with all that, you're constantly reframing your camera perhaps. It's funny, so the reason I have this other second XH1 over there is to show how poorly everything can look when you don't have it perfectly framed up here. I do want to show you the kind of behind the scenes and just how much planning went into this specific shot here that I've got perfectly set up right now. It looks great here, but beyond it, it's not great. We've got my shelves over there. We've got more desk and junk over there. And if the camera isn't perfectly placed over here with this fast lens, then I look very dark and the room looks poor as well. Another thing that I struggled with, and this ties in with this point of framing, is you want to make sure that you're pretty much straight on. At least that's kind of the look I like. When you're either shooting into a corner, it doesn't look as great to me. It just feels off. Like when I see other YouTubers who are kind of filming into corners, it's kind of distracting in my opinion. I prefer having a look where it's directly on me. One thing that was important to me and might be important to you is to find an actual flat wall behind you. And again, to have enough space allowing your camera to shoot straight on to that straight wall, if that makes sense. The third point, this one kind of might be obvious, but it's still very important, is you want to find a spot that is a little private. And what I mean in that sense is you're not going to have a lot of traffic coming through, actual people coming through, as well as like traffic on the street. So unfortunately, I live in the city right now, Richmond. My bedroom is right on the street and there's cars passing by all the time. There's a fire station, there's an ambulance station, and there's a police station. And you hear their sirens go by all the time, like literally every 3 minutes. Factor in other noises. What else are you going to be able to hear? Which room is going to be the quietest? Does the room have a door that closes? Versus like, for example, a living or a dining room or something that doesn't have a door where it's just going to be a lot louder. And then I would say the fourth point, as far as like planning out your space, the other thing is you do need enough space, again, for your framing, like we said, but as well as having the other things that are going to be going around you. Those of course include the main light, your main key light, as well as your fill light there. We're only going to be using 2 lights here as far as lighting us, the subject. And then the other lights we're going to be talking about as well in the gear section. So that brings us nicely into the topic of gear itself. So I've moved the camera to the other side of my office area to give you an idea as far as how I'm sitting, how my lights are placed, and how I am relative to that camera over there. The main stars of the show are these 2 Viltrox lights over here, and they're RGB LED camera video lights. They're dimmable from 2500 Kelvin to 8500 Kelvin. They have 299 multicolor types. There's the white filter. It comes with a battery, which some lights don't, and they come with a charger, but they don't come with the plug itself. These just happen to be regular DC plugs that I had plenty of, so I'm just actually running it off of those. They were the cheapest, smallest, portable, most simple lights that I could get off of Amazon that would not only help me for these kind of videos that I'm trying to do here, but as well as for my client work as well. $45 is a lot of money for one light. However, these are, again, the cheapest ones that also can do color, which I needed. And while, yes, you can get gels on cheaper white lights and change the colors that way, for my kind of run and gun style of shooting, like when I'm doing concerts and weddings and things like that, I don't want to have to put gels on them. I want the ability to turn a dial like I can do on these and just switch them out that way. Like for example, there's this button back here. I hold this down, and it'll switch to RGB colors, and I can just play around with them that way and turn them. I look terrible. You get the idea, and I can do the same for that light over there, which is actually, it's on blue. And that's how I'm getting that fill light color over there. Switching this, holding it back to white. My eyes are adjusting, I still see pink. So these are $45 each, and I would recommend these, again, for the simplicity of them, the fact that they're pretty easy to set up and just work with. If you want to go cheaper, you can find the ones that are only dimmable white. However, if you want this kind of look with the most ease, and you want the most versatility with your studio lights, and you want them to go the longest distance, I would recommend investing a little bit more in getting these pair specifically. These pair, this pair, this pair. On the topic of the lights themselves, I had to play around with the placement of these lights for a long time. Again, back to the initial setup there, which is going to take a long time, because it's very important as far as getting this look here to properly light your whole front of your face without getting a dramatic shadow from your nose, which is what I was getting originally when I had the light. Again, when this light was a little bit more to the right versus more at a, what, maybe 30 degree, 15 to 30 degree angle coming on my face like that, I was getting this same kind of nice shadow drop off here, but I was also getting a shadow blocking the left side of my face because there wasn't enough light coming this way. It was more this way. So my nose was blocking it. So I was getting some unwanted shadows there. So that was as far as the placement there. I have it on 22%, 3200 Kelvin. The brightness is perfect for this camera right now for lighting up my face, and it's not actually it's not blinding me. Again, I'm no expert on lighting, but I'm gradually getting better enough. I've used these a couple times for interviews, and it's dramatically improved the quality of the interviews I've been doing in comparison to how I had them before. But with this light over here, you'll see, I actually have a piece of paper over it. And the reason I do that is I'm kind of using that as like an additional gel, or think of it like a filter. It's basically kind of cutting down on the amount of blue light that's being emitted from there. It's just a single white piece of notepad paper. In my experience with playing around with them, I found that having it actually like you're supposed to when you're doing these kind of fill lights to help kind of create more of a pop between you and the background behind you, as it's lighting kind of like the corner of your shoulder and kind of back of your neck there. You kind of have to be creative with how everything works, because you have such a unique setup here that you just need to find what works for your look with the gear that you have. So those were the lights, and again, the lights are the biggest part of your budget here. If you're trying to stay under $120, you're right now at about $90 if you want these lights specifically. Where's the rest of your budget coming from? Well, there's other extra things that you need to consider, and some things that I initially wasn't even considering. I happen to have these light poles from a previous purchase, and they're about $30 for a pack of 2. The brand's called Newer. Obviously, these aren't like the best grade lights. They aren't gonna be carrying like super heavy, like production level lights, but for these really light portable ones, and if you want to keep your setup light, portable, cheap, these ones are going to do well for you. And again, $30, so that brings your total light setup to what, 30 plus 90, that's 120 right there, right? You might be able to get creative. Use tripods, for example. You can put this on a tripod or a monopod. You can put it, if you have C-clamps, and you can mount it to something that can help save you money on buying additional hardware. I mean, again, if you plan on using these past just your YouTube setup here and you want to do interviews, weddings, things like that, investing in some decent light poles is going to be beneficial. But for this, strictly keeping it under budget, you could skip out on it. However, I have factored it into the cost of this setup in order to keep it under $120. So beyond these 2 lights here, which are great, and again, the main part of our setup, what else do we have? Well, looking behind us, we have obviously like the background like we've been talking about the whole time. I personally did not want a plain white wall, and I thought that it would not look great for the look that I wanted. I wanted a nice dark gray wall, and I didn't want to paint it. So I got creative again, and I went to 5 and below. Where's a 5 below? Just looked around, and I found these mats there. They're actually, I believe, just yoga mats. They're like maybe 2.5 feet by 2.5 or 3 by 3 foam pads that you'd like put on the floor and like do yoga on. Past just giving me that dark color without having to paint, it also helps with reducing sound echo in the room. 3, it's giving a little texture and some more life to my background past just being dark black. They were just cheap and super easy to set up. Each one only cost $3. You might be able to find them cheaper from other locations. Again, get creative, maybe look at Goodwill and other thrift stores and things like that, maybe Walmart. For me, I just wanted to get them done. I got 3 for $9, and I thought that was easy enough. I just used literally 2 nails, each corner of the center one. If I don't ever like it in the future, if I want to flip it around to the flat side, I just pull out the 2 nails, flip them around, use the same holes, and boom, I'm done. You can factor in miscellaneous things into your budget of $10. I mean, with what we're at right now, you have about $20 of miscellaneous funds to go in order to decorate as well as add your background lights. This is going to be our second category for gear lights, more lights. You're giving more life to your background. It's not just completely black or white. My light up LED message board, that was $5, made the room look a little creative. It's a little blown out right now, and I have to kind of work on how do I get that to light up and show a little better. The lamp behind me, I just wanted a bulb that created some color to match the kind of blue over there. Again, 5 below. You can't see them up there, but in this frame, you should be able to. I have a shelf right above the foam boards there. So again, this is where I got creative with my framing. I didn't want to show the shelf, but right below the shelf is an LED light strip, lighting and accenting the foam boards and just giving me some more color behind me. It's not just completely dark and black, as well as giving me the LED look down below that you see there. It actually wraps around the shelf to the table area. Like everything in here, it goes back to your creativity with the gear that you have. Those light strips can go for between $10 to $15 to $20. I happen to have a lot of them already, so it wasn't part of my budget, but if you want to factor those in to keep it within the $120, if you're getting a little tight right now, they're only about $5, again, from 5 below. You kind of understand the placement of light 1 light 2, and background lights. It's a simple 3-step formula there. It's just a matter of playing around with it in order to get everything to look better. So hopefully this helped you out. I know we talked about a lot, but I like to cover every point possible and make it so there's as little confusion for you guys. And if you're like me, this should inspire and help you to make more videos and content for your channel in the future. If you have any questions, any other suggestions, if you have a similar setup, or if you have other suggestions that would work well for this kind of setup and possibly for a future upgrade to this setup, let me know in the comments down below. Other videos and topics that you want me to cover, let me know as well. I have a lot of great ideas for upcoming content on this channel. And like I said, the fact that I now have a dedicated area to be filming, it's a lot easier for me to do so. If you're new, be sure to subscribe. It helps a lot with the channel. Like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, you don't have to do anything. But until next time, guys, as always,